I was an early adopter of the Rode Lavalier II, and now, after about a year of use, I decided to make this video to kind of, well, revise some of my previous statements and talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things that I discovered after using this microphone quite a lot during the year. So first off, I've been using this microphone for both client work and for my own personal projects like YouTube videos and that kind of stuff. And I've been using this microphone both indoors and outdoors. So let's start with outdoors. Well, if I'm shooting something outdoors, I always have this microphone placed on top of clothing, and I always have the tiny little dead cat, the mini furry as Rode calls this furry little thing. And as long as you have this attached on the microphone, you won't have any issues with wind noise and that kind of stuff under kind of normal circumstances. Now, apart from the mosquitoes, which will drive you insane if you're out this time of the day, this place is just amazing. We're in the Swedish mountains, so we've driven pretty far north from Malmö, where I'm. When it comes to indoor use, same thing here. I always have this microphone mounted on top of clothing, but I use the tiny little foam wind stopper instead of the big furry one here. And this is kind of the way that I've come to prefer and think of this microphone as something that you put on top of clothing. We will talk about concealment and mounting it underneath or inside of clothing in just a second. I just want to touch on audio quality and character. I know most of you have probably watched hours and hours of comparison videos with this microphone and others like the Lavalier Go. I feel like the Lavalier II does a better job at dealing with a wider variety of different voices, boomy or high-pitched, whiny voices, what have you.
This is a little snapshot of my good friend Ralph Grant. He was a black dancer who studied Bonneville in Copenhagen, and I met him when I was 19, and thanks to him I speak English.
And this will usually end up meaning you have to spend less time in post to tweaking audio, and that in itself is kind of worth the extra dollars you're paying for the Lavalier II, especially if you will be using this microphone on a number of different people, if you're doing, corporate videos or what have you. Another great thing about this microphone that I tested in my previous video, and I've also found out to be very, very true, is that it's not super sensitive or as sensitive to placement as some other microphones. So if you're dealing with a person that have clothing that don't allow you to place the microphone perfectly, you're still gonna get a pretty decent audio with decent levels and character. Same thing if you're dealing with a person that likes to move their head around a lot. Normally you get kind of some loss in clarity or in presence. So that's another thing that will make your life a bit easier and make it worth paying those extra dollars for the Lavalier II. Yeah. Now, when it comes to concealment and working with the creative placement of this microphone, first of all, I just want to kind of revise one of my statements that I did in my previous video on this microphone, where I said that this microphone, they call it discreet, but it's pretty chunky and bulky if you compare it to something like the, I think I have the Lavalier Go here, clipped on nice and secured. This little microphone here, can you even see this? I'm not sure. I'll show you. I'll give you a close-up later on. Anyway, the thing that I've discovered with this, the Lavalier II, after watching hours and hours of footage with either me or someone else wearing this microphone partially or fully in frame, is that the lower profile you have with this microphone kind of makes it appear more two-dimensional, which may sound kind of weird, but in itself, that kind of flatter two-dimensional approach actually makes it less eye-catching than you'd think. So I think I have to change my previous statement to say that it's actually quite discreet. I know that's been kind of an issue for a lot of you out there, and for me as well. I wasn't thinking that this, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, let's move on. So one of the issues with this microphone, which is also one of the benefits, if you're dealing with a shirt and a jacket like this, it will usually, do a pretty good job because of the low profile and all that. But if you need to hide it within a collar or clothing, or tape it, mainly taping it to either a chest or inside of a shirt or something, there's going to be some issues because of the front-facing capsule, and also the fact that you can't really use something like the Invisilab with this microphone, those little things from Rode. I'll show you a picture here. That's why I don't bother with hiding this microphone. I just clip it on and make sure I have the cable taken care of, and that's how I think about this microphone. So if that's normally what you are doing, like talking head stuff, interviews, and you don't mind having a microphone in frame, and we're so used to seeing microphones in frame now on TV and YouTube, what have you, then it's not going to be a problem for you. I'm not going to be bothered by it, certainly. But if you're running audio on the new Star Wars movie or something, or some costume movie where you need to hide the microphone, then I'd say that this might not be the best option for you. Now, let's talk about some of the bad things about this microphone. And well, one of the biggest issues with this microphone is that it's very, very, very difficult to find well-fitting third-party spare parts, like the tiny little windscreen here, the one in foam, and this one here, but also the clip. There's nothing available on Rode's website, and I've been spamming Rode about spare parts for this microphone for the better part of a year, but nothing have come out. So these things like windscreens and clips, they always tend to break, or they get worn out, or they disappear. So if I'm using this microphone for client work, that's why I have a couple of these in case a clip or something goes missing. I have a spare one, and I also have a couple of third-party ones, but they aren't as snug as the original parts is, which means that you will lose a couple of centimeters here and there, and you won't have the same kind of flush fitting and nice look of the microphone. So Rode, if you're watching this, please make sure that we can get some spare foam stoppers, yeah, that would be nice too, but foam wind stoppers and that kind of stuff for this microphone, because that gets me a bit worried that there aren't any spare parts for this. For the Rode Lavalier Go, you can pick up generic clips. There's a bunch of those on Amazon that you can find, but that nice little low-profile clip on the Lav 2, and the nice thing about these rubber, they got this rubber ring down here that kind of holds on to the lavalier, both this one and the Lavalier Go, so they don't come off as easy. So Rode, please make that happen. Well, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them in the comments or in a future video. And yeah, I'm gonna put the previous review video I did of the Lavalier 2 and the comparison with the Lavalier Go up here on the end screen in just a second. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!